Good morning. Today's Bible reading comes from 1 King 5 through 7 and 2 Chronicles 2 through 4. All right, let's get into it. Hiram, king of Tyre, sent ambassadors to Solomon when he heard that he had been crowned king in David's place. Hiram had loved David his whole life. Solomon responded, saying, "You know that David my father was not able to build a temple in honor of God because of the wars he had fought. He had to fight on all sides until God finally put them down. But now God has provided peace all around, no one against us, nothing at odds with us." I'm going to need to get my glasses. The light's changing here in the background, so let me get these on. But now God has provided peace all around, no one against us, nothing at odds with us. Now here is what I want to do: build a temple in honor of God, my God, following the promise that God gave to David my father, namely, your son whom I will provide to succeed you as king. He will build a house in my honor. And here is how you can help. Give orders for cedars to be cut down from the Lebanon forest. My loggers will work alongside yours, and I'll pay your men whatever wage you set. We both know that there is no one like you Sidonians for cutting timber. When Hiram got Solomon's message, he was delighted, exclaiming, "Blessed be God for giving David such a wise son to rule this flourishing people." Then he sent his message to Solomon. "I received your request for the cedars and cypresses. It's as good as done. Your wish is my command. My lumberjacks will haul the timbers from the Lebanon forest to the sea, assemble them into log rafts, float them to the place you set, then have them disassembled for you to haul away. All I want from you is that you feed my crew." In this way, Hiram supplied all the cedar and cypress timber that Solomon wanted. In his turn, Solomon gave Hiram 125,000 bushels of wheat, 115,000 gallons of virgin olive oil. He did this every year, and God, for his part, gave Solomon wisdom. Just as he had promised, the healthy peace between Hiram and Solomon was formalized by a treaty. King Solomon raised a workforce of 30,000 men from all over Israel. He sent them in shifts of 10,000 each month to the Lebanon forest. They would work a month in Lebanon and then be at home 2 months. Adoniram was in charge of the work crew. Solomon also had 70,000 unskilled workers and another 80,000 stone cutters up in the hills, plus 3,300 foremen managing the project and supervising the work crews. Following the king's order, they quarried huge blocks of the best stone, dressed stone, for the foundation of the temple. Solomon and Hiram's construction workers, assisted by the men of Gibal, cut and prepared the lumber and stone for building the temple. 480 years after the Israelites came out of Egypt, in the 4th year of Solomon's rule over Israel, in the month of Ziv, the 2nd month, Solomon started building the temple of God. The temple that King Solomon built to God was 90 feet long, 30 feet wide, and 45 feet high. There was a porch across the 30-foot width of the temple that extended out 15 feet. Within the temple, he made narrow, deep-silled windows. Against the outside walls, he built a supporting structure in which there were smaller rooms. The lower floor was 7.5 feet wide, the middle floor 9 feet, and the third floor 10.5 feet. He had projecting ledges built into the outside temple walls to support the buttressing beams. The stone blocks for the building of the temple were all dressed at the quarry, so that the building site itself was reverently quiet. No noise from hammers and chisels and other iron tools. The entrance to the ground floor was at the south end of the temple. Stairs led to the second floor and then to the third. Solomon built and completed the temple, finishing it off with roof beams and planks of cedar. The supporting structure along the outside walls was attached to the temple with cedar beams, and the rooms in it were 7.5 feet tall. The word of God came to Solomon, saying, "About this temple you are building, what's important is that you live the way I've set out for you and do what I tell you, following my instructions carefully and obediently. Then I'll complete in you the promise I made to David, your father. I'll personally take up my residence among the Israelites. I won't desert my people Israel." Solomon built and completed the temple. He paneled the interior walls from floor to ceiling with cedar planks. For flooring, he used cypress. The 30 feet at the rear of the temple he made into an inner sanctuary. Cedar plants from floor to ceiling, the Holy of Holies. The main sanctuary area in front was 60 feet long. The entire interior of the temple was cedar, with carvings of fruits and flowers, all cedar. None of the stone was exposed. The inner sanctuary within the temple was for housing the chest of the covenant of God. This inner sanctuary was a cube 30 feet each way, all plated with gold. The altar of cedar was also gold-plated. Everywhere you looked there was pure gold chains strung in front of the gold-plated inner sanctuary. Gold everywhere. Walls, ceiling, floor, and altar. Dazzling. Then he made 2 cherubim, gigantic angel-like figures from olive wood. Each was 15 feet tall. The outstretched wings of the cherubim, they were identical in size and shape, measured another 15 feet. Placed the 2 cherubim, their wings spread, in the inner sanctuary. The combined wing spread stretched the width of the room. The wing of one cherub touched one wall, the wing of the other wall, and the wings touched in the middle. The cherubim were gold-plated. He then carved engravings of cherubim, palm trees, and flower blossoms in the walls of both the inner and the main sanctuary, and all the floors of both inner and outer rooms were gold-plated. He constructed doors of olive wood for the entrance to the inner sanctuary. The lintel and the doorpost were 5-sided. The doors were also carved with cherubim, palm trees, and flowers, and then covered with gold leaf. Similarly, he built the entrance to the main sanctuary using olive wood for the doorposts, but these doorposts were 4-sided. The doors were of cypress, split into 2 panels, each panel swinging separately. These also were carved with cherubim, palm trees, and flowers, and plated with finely hammered gold leaf. He built the inner court with 3 courses of dressed stones, topped with a course of planed cedar timbers. The foundation for God's temple was laid in the 4th year in the month of Ziv. It was completed in the 11th year in the month of Bul, the 8th month, down to the last detail, just as planned. It took Solomon 7 years to build it. Heavenly number. It took Solomon another 13 years to finish building his own palace complex. He built the palace of the Forest of Lebanon, 150 feet long, 70 feet wide, 45 feet high. There were 4 rows of cedar columns supporting 45 cedar beams. 15 in each row, and then roofed with cedar. Windows in groupings of 3 were set high in the walls on either side. All the doors were rectangular and arranged symmetrically. He built a colonnaded courtyard 75 feet long and 45 feet wide. It had a roofed porch at the front with ample eaves. He built a courtroom, the Hall of Justice, where he would decide judicial matters, and paneled it with cedar. He built his personal residence behind the hall on a similar plan. Solomon also built another one just like it for Pharaoh's daughter, whom he had married. No expense was spared. Everything here, inside and out, from foundation to roof, was constructed using high-quality stone, accurately cut and shaped and polished. The foundation stones were huge, ranging in size from 12 to 15 feet, and of the very best quality. The finest stone was used above the foundation, shaped to size and trimmed with cedar. The courtyard was enclosed with a wall made of 3 layers of stone and topped with cedar timbers, just like the one in the porch of the temple of God. King Solomon sent a seer and asked Hiram, not the king, another Hiram, to come. Hiram's mother was a widow from the tribe of Naphtali. His father was a Tyrian and a master worker in bronze. Hiram was a real artist. He could do anything with bronze. He came to King Solomon and did all the bronze work. First, he cast 2 pillars in bronze. Each capital was 7.5 feet high and flared at the top of the top in the shape of a lily. Each capital was dressed with an elaborate filigree of 7 braided chains and a double row of 200 pomegranates, setting the pillars off magnificently. He set the pillars up at the entrance porch to the temple. The pillar to the south he named Security, Jason, and the pillar to the north Stability, Boaz. The capitals were in the shape of lilies. When the pillars were finished, Hiram's next project was to make the sea, an immense round basin of cast metal, 15 feet in diameter, 7.5 feet tall and 45 feet in circumference. Just under the rim there were 2 bands of decorative gourds, 10 gourds to each 1.5 feet. The gourds were cast in one piece with the sea. The sea was set on 12 bowls, 3 facing north, 3 facing west, 3 facing south, and 3 facing east. The bowls faced outward, supporting the sea on their hind quarters. The sea was 3 inches thick and flared at the rim like a cup or like a lily. It held about 11,500 gallons. Hiram also made 10 washstands of bronze. Each was 6 feet square and 4.5 feet tall. They were made like this. Panels were fastened to the uprights. Lions, bulls, and cherubim were represented on the panels and uprights. Beveled wreathwork bordered the lions and bulls above and below. Each stand was mounted on 4 bronze wheels with bronze axles. The uprights were cast with decorative relief work. Each stand held a basin on a circular engraved support of 1.5 feet deep set on a pedestal 2.25 feet square. The washstand itself was square. The axles were attached under the stand and the wheels fixed to them. The wheels were 27 inches in diameter. They were designed like chariot wheels. Everything, axles, rims, spokes, and hubs, was of cast metal. There was a handle at the 4 corners of each washstand. The handles cast in one piece with the stand. At the top of the washstand there was a ring about 9 inches deep. The uprights and handles were cast with the stand. Everything and every available surface was engraved with cherubim, lions, and palm trees. bordered by arabesques. The washstands were identical, all cast in the same mold. He also made 10 bronze wash basins, each 6 feet in diameter, with a capacity of 230 gallons, 1 basin for each of the 10 washstands. He arranged 5 stands on the south side of the temple and 5 on the north. The sea was placed at the southeast corner of the temple. Hiram then fashioned the various utensils, buckets, shovels, and bowls. Hiram completed all the work he set out to do for King Solomon on the temple of God. 2 pillars, 2 capitals at the top of the pillars, 2 decorative filigrees for the capitals, 400 pomegranates for the 2 filigrees, a double row of pomegranates for each filigree. 10 washstands, each with its wash basin, 1 sea, 12 bowls under the sea, miscellaneous buckets, shovels, and bowls. All these artifacts that Hiram made for King Solomon for the temple of God were of burnished bronze. He cast them in clay in a foundry on the Jordan plain between Succoth and Zarethan. These artifacts were never weighed. There were far too many. Nobody has any idea how much bronze was used. Solomon was also responsible for all the furniture and accessories in the temple of God. The gold altar, the gold table that held the bread of the presence, the pure gold candelabras, 5 to the right, 5 to the left in front of the inner sanctuary. Gold flowers, lamps, and tongs, the pure gold dishes, wick trimmers, sprinkling bowls, ladles, and censers. The gold sockets for the doors of the inner sanctuary, the Holy of Holies, used only for the doors of the main sanctuary. That completed all the work King Solomon did on the temple of God. He then brought in the items consecrated by his father David, the silver and the gold and the artifacts. He placed them all in the treasury of God's temple. Second Chronicles 2-4. Solomon gave orders to begin construction of the house of worship in the honor of God and a palace for himself. Solomon assigned 70,000 common laborers, 80,000 to work the quarries in the mountains, 3,600 foremen to manage the workforce. Then Solomon sent this message to King Hiram of Tyre. Send me cedar logs, the same kind you sent David my father, for building his palace. I'm about to build a house of worship in honor of God, a holy place for burning perfumed incense, for setting out holy bread, for making whole burnt offerings at morning and evening worship, and for Sabbath, new moon, and holy day services of worship, the acts of worship required of Israel. The house I am building has to be the best, for our God is the best, far better than competing gods. But who is capable of building such a structure? Why, the skies, the entire cosmos, can't begin to contain him. And me, who am I to think I can build a house adequate for God? Burning incense to him is about all I'm good for. I need your help. Send me a master artisan in gold, silver, bronze, iron, textiles of purple, crimson, and violet, and who knows the craft of engraving. He will supervise the trained craftsmen in Judah and Jerusalem that my father provided. Also send cedar, cypress, and algum logs from Lebanon. I know you have lumberjacks experienced in the Lebanon forest. I'll send workers to join your crews to cut plenty of timber. I'm going to need a lot, for this house I'm building is going to be absolutely stunning. A showcase temple. I'll provide all the food necessary for your crew of lumberjacks and loggers, 130,000 bushels of wheat, 120,000 gallons of wine, 120,000 gallons of olive oil. Hiram, king of Tyre, wrote Solomon in reply, "It's plain that God loves his people. He made you king over them." He wrote on, "Blessed be the God of Israel, who made heaven and earth, and who gave King David a son so wise, so knowledgeable and shrewd, to build a temple for God and a palace for himself. I've sent you Harun Abi. He's already on his way. He knows the construction business inside and out. His mother is from Dan and his father from Tyre. He knows how to work in gold, silver, bronze, iron, stone, wood, in purple, violet, linen, and crimson textiles. He is also an expert engraver and competent to work out designs with your artists and architects, and those of my master David, your father. Go ahead and send the wheat, barley, olive oil, and wine you promised for my work crews. We'll log the trees you need from the Lebanon forest and raft them down to Joppa. You'll have to get the timber up to Jerusalem yourself." Solomon then took a census of all foreigners living in Israel, using the same census-taking method employed by his father. They numbered 153,600,000. He assigned 70,000 of them as common laborers, 80,000 to work the quarries in the mountains, and 3,600 as foremen to manage the work crews. So Solomon broke ground, launched construction of the house of God in Jerusalem on Mount Moriah, the place where God had appeared to his father David. The precise site, the threshing floor of Araunah, the Jebusite, had been designated by David. He broke ground on the second day in the second month of the 4th year of his rule. These are the dimensions that Solomon set for the construction of the house of God, 90 feet long and 30 feet wide. The porch in front stretched the width of the building, that is, 30 feet, and it was 30 feet high. The interior was gold-plated. He paneled the main hall with cypress and veneered it with fine gold engraved with palm tree and chain designs. He decorated the building with precious stones and gold from Parvium. Everything was coated with gold veneer. Rafters, door frames, walls, and doors. Cherubim were engraved on the walls. He made the Holy of Holies a cube 30 feet wide, long, and high. It was veneered with 600 talents, something over 22 tons of gold. The gold nails weighed 50 shekels, a little over a pound. The upper rooms were also veneered in gold. He made 2 sculptures of cherubim, gigantic angel-like figures, for the Holy of Holies, both veneered with gold. The combined wing spread of the side-by-side cherubim, each wing measuring 7.5 feet, stretched from wall to wall 30 feet. They stood erect, facing the main hall. Fashioned the curtain of violet, purple, and crimson fabric, and worked a cherub design into it. He made 2 huge freestanding pillars, 80 each 52 feet tall, their capitals extending another 7.5 feet. The top of each pillar was set off like an elaborate filigree of chains, like necklaces, from which hung 100 pomegranates. Placed the pillars in front of the temple, one on the right and the other on the left. The right pillar he named Jachin, security, and the left pillar he named Boaz, stability. He made the bronze altar 30 feet long, 30 feet wide, and 10 feet high. He made a sea, an immense round basin of cast metal 15 feet in diameter, 7.5 feet high and 45 feet in circumference. Just under the rim there were 2 parallel bands of something like bulls, 10 to each foot and a half. The figures were cast in one piece with the sea. The sea was set on 12 poles, 3 facing north, 3 facing west, 3 facing south, 3 facing east. All the poles faced outward and supported the sea on their hind quarters. The sea was 3 inches thick and flared at the rim like a cup or a lily. It held about 18,000 gallons. He made 10 wash basins, 5 set on the right, 5 on the left, for rinsing the things used for the whole burnt offerings. The priests washed themselves in the sea. He made 10 gold lampstands, following the specified pattern, and placed 5 on the right, 5 on the left. He made 10 tables and set 5 on the right, 5 on the left. He also made 100 gold bowls. He built a courtyard especially for the priest, and then the great court and doors for the court. The doors were covered with bronze. He placed the sea on the right side of the temple at the southeast corner. He also made ash buckets, shovels, and bowls, and that about wrapped it up. Hiram completed the work he had contracted to do for King Solomon. 2 pillars, 2 bowl-shaped capitals for the tops of the pillars, 2 decorative filigrees for the capitals, 400 pomegranates for the filigrees, a double row of pomegranates for each filigree, 10 wash stands with their basins, 1 sea and the 12 bowls under it, miscellaneous buckets, forks, shovels, and bowls. And all these artifacts that Hiram Abi made for King Solomon for the temple of God were made of burnished bronze. The king had them cast in clay in a foundry on the Jordan plain between Succoth and Zarethan. These artifacts were never weighed. There were far too many. Nobody has any idea how much bronze was used. Solomon was also responsible for the furniture and accessories in the temple of God, the gold altar, the tables that held the bread of presence, the lampstands of pure gold with their lamps, to be lighted before the inner sanctuary, the Holy of Holies, the gold flowers, lamps, and tongs, all solid gold, the gold wick trimmers, bowls, ladens, and censers, the gold doors of the temple, doors to the Holy of Holies, and the doors to the main sanctuary. And that is it for today's Bible reading. As always, get in touch with God today, and I will see you again tomorrow. Bye.